The Law and You, a look at laws in St. Vincent and the Grenadines which affect our daily lives. The Law and You, presented by lawyer panel P.R Campbell QC and brought to you on SVG-TV as a public service.
Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, boys and girls, greetings. Welcome to another presentation in this public service nation-building series, The Law and You. This is program number 870, coming to you on Monday the 31st of July 2017. On this program, I will speak to you on the topic Deeds of Release. But before getting into the topic, a few preliminary comments, beginning as usual with condolences going out to all families which have suffered recent bereavements. And in that connection, I was extremely saddened to hear on the weekend of the death of Brother Oscar Allen. Oscar was one of St. Vincent's unsung heroes, a man of deep and profound intellectual attainments. True enough, he didn't have certificates and degrees to show. But for the past 50 years, Oscar has been a national educator. I recall fairly vividly in the 1979 political turmoil when Oscar, the then acknowledged leader of a group based in Diamond called AWI, and other progressive groups got together to form a political party called the United People's Movement, the UPM. Upful is the word was our slogan. And I recall that every time Oscar spoke, it was with profundity, with clarity. He never raised his voice, always very soft-spoken, but logical and reasonable. He was truly an emancipated brother who did quite a lot to lift the consciousness of all persons who came in contact with him, particularly those in the Diamond community. I remember Oscar carrying on debates with persons like Simeon Green, Earlene Horn, Renwick Rose. We will surely miss the brother, not to mention his articles in the newspaper, to which I certainly look forward to week after week. But pass on we must. I tried to get in touch with Sir Errol Allen today, couldn't find him. Don't know if he's in the island right now, but I want to send my deepest condolences to him and all the other members of Oscar's immediate biological family and his wider social family in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Oscar had a lot to do with the education of persons like Casper London, the ideological education, uncompromising and so very soft-spoken. May his soul rest in peace. And I would like to say to the family and friends of my cousin Dolores Campbell that the funeral will take place on Sunday the 13th of August in Barley. Investigations are still continuing into her brutal murder, and I haven't heard of any lead. But the police are diligent in carrying out their investigation. Now, I want to inject a personal note. I've been trying to get in touch with two elderly ladies from Union Island for the longest while, for years. Leotha Wilson and Theodora Ford. If anybody in Union knows the whereabouts of Miss Wilson and Miss Ford, I know Miss Wilson used to go back and forth between St. Vincent and Trinidad, and Miss Theodora Ford used to go back between the United States and St. Vincent. I need to get in touch with either of them extremely urgently. Just ask them to call my office. It is very, very urgent. Okay? Excuse me. Now, on behalf of Bishop Cecil George Riley and the members of the Freedom Hall assemblies of Jamaica, Florida, New York, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, I want to issue an invitation to the people of Bible to an open air service which will be held on the night of Friday the 18th of August at the Bayaboo Bridge. Now, ever since Bishop Riley established the Freedom Hall Church of God at Reeves Level, Cedars, he and his team have been coming to St. Vincent and the Grenadines at least twice per year. They come at about Easter time and they hold a youth convention, and they come in August for the general convention. Last year when they came, they had one change in their program, in that they paid a visit and had a night of the convention at Spring Village. Well, that is still on. So Spring Village, your turn will certainly come again on the Wednesday night, Wednesday the 16th. But for the first time, Dr. Riley would be having an open air meeting, Bible at the bridge on Friday the 18th, and I want to let everybody know that you are invited. I'll say more about that next week and the other week, DV. Looking forward. If you want to get any further details, you contact either Dave Charles or Michelle Charles or Brother Dwayne Hayward, and they will give you further information. Excuse me. Now, tomorrow, of course, is a public holiday in St. Vincent and Grenadines, the 1st of August, Emancipation Day. Now, ever since that holiday was moved from where it used to be, namely the first Monday in August, and moved now to the first day of August, I have been calling for a return to the celebration on the first Monday in August. Now, it makes sense for a number of reasons to have a public holiday on a Monday rather than any other day of the week, in that everybody gets a long weekend. And when I was little, we looked forward to August Monday. It was a big thing. Now, for the last few years in St. Vincent and Grenadines, not much happens by way of organized activities for Emancipation Day. And I haven't heard of anything spectacular that is going to take place tomorrow. It's supposed to be a very important commemoration, you know, commemorating the freedom from slavery, the official freedom from slavery. So I want to yet again ask the authorities to rethink the idea of having the August holiday, the Emancipation holiday, back to the first Monday in August, so that everybody would know August Monday is coming and you can plan accordingly. You see, when holidays come in the week, they are disruptive. You go to work on Monday today, holiday Tuesday, Wednesday you now go back to work. And those who said that they wanted to keep the significance of Emancipation Day by having it on the 1st of August are missing the point. Anyway, that is just my view, and I will, as long as I have breath, I would keep urging the authorities to rethink. I could understand the sentiment that led to the change, but sometimes you have to really analyze a change and ask yourself whether it has been a change for the better. And I think the significance of the emancipation has been lost by having the first day in August celebrated rather than the first Monday. So, PR says, bring back August Monday. All right. Now, I have two more items, several more items. I jotted them down, but I would only talk about two because the list is fairly long. I appeal once again to the traffic department to give serious thought to establishing an official pedestrian crossing somewhere in the area of Jack's store and the Central Market. Today, as I left court and waited on the sidewalk outside Jack's, I had asked for some transportation because I had to go elsewhere when I finished court, so I waited on the sidewalk outside Jack's gallery to be picked up. I waited there for a good 12 minutes. And then it really struck me, the numbers of people crossing from one side of the road to the other and crossing all about. From the pedestrian crossing at the top, that is the one linking the Korea City store with the Central Market, almost to the gate of the Fire Brigade entrance, people simply keep crossing in a hazardous way. And I feel that the authorities should consider establishing a proper pedestrian crossing so that everybody know where it is proper to cross, and vehicles coming from the seaside, from Bay Street, towards Back Street, or even turning into Middle Street, would be on the alert for pedestrians. But as it is now, people simply dart across the road. And I don't know, it's just the blessing of God that kept some people from being knocked down. People simply dodge between vehicles, because the vehicles are driving from the area of the police barracks and the bottom of the Central Market towards Back Street, some of them going at fairly brisk rate. and people are darting across the road in front of these vehicles, and you don't know where to expect the people. Some come down Middle Street and they simply pelt right across the road, because if you look at the market, there are two entrances to the market close to each other. So people who use those entrances simply cross the road where those entrances are. Now, and don't tell me that 3 pedestrian crossings on Back Street, Middle Street, and Bay Street would be too many, because you have that and have always had that in Egmont Street, the street on which I happen to have my business place. There's a pedestrian crossing on Back Street at Egmont Street between the Singer Building and Bickles. There's one in Middle Street, and there's one in Bay Street. So, what is difficult about establishing 3 pedestrian crossings on that street that links Bay Street with Back Street, that passes between Jackson, the Central Market, and the Police Fire Brigade Station and the Central Market? But I don't say, it's just the blessing of God that people are not being knocked down there every day. So, a word to the wise. And final thing I want to say, let me remind drivers of 2 things. When the day starts to get dark, put on your lights. You will see drivers driving, it is not just dusk, it is dark, and they will not put on not even their tail lights, let alone the headlights. What, they're trying to save battery? So as soon as it gets dark and visibility diminishes, switch your lights on. As they always say, be seen. Let your vehicle be seen. Don't think it's macho to drive as late as possible, as dark as possible, before you switch on your headlights. And finally, where I live at Queens Drive, there are lots of corners I have to negotiate before I reach. And I am a man, old-fashioned, crampy if you want. I like to blow my horn before I turn corners. And the road is narrow, and some of the corners are very deep. And I have observed for years, you would blow your horn, no horn will be sounded in answer, and when you go around the corner, there's a vehicle coming on the opposite side. So let me remind drivers, when you hear a horn and you go around a corner, somebody is saying, is anybody there? You toot your horn to say, yes, I am here. So if you're not accustomed blowing your horn first, if you hear somebody blow their horn, blow yours so that somebody will know, oh yes, a vehicle is coming around the corner. Simple, elementary, common sense. But let me get into the topic now. Enough preliminaries. Deeds of release. Spoken on this topic at least twice before during the life of this program. But it seems as if people forget, or some new viewers haven't heard it before. So let me, and it's not a long topic. Now, when you take out a mortgage, that is, you take out a loan on the security of property or of land, you transfer the land or the property to the institution from which you have borrowed the money, bank or credit union, or building society, building and loan, or privately or insurance company, whoever. You sign what is called a legal mortgage, in which you transfer the property to the institution from which you have borrowed the money. That mortgage is registered at the courthouse. So if anybody wants to know if your property has a mortgage on it, they go and search the index of deeds at the courthouse, and they will find it because every mortgage must be registered. If it's not registered, it's not effective. And it is important that mortgage documents are kept. Otherwise, a person would go and mortgage the same property for two and three different institutions, borrowing money from each of them. Eventually end up not being able to pay all of them. But when you are finished paying back the loan, you want back your deed from the institution. You go to a lawyer and you get what is called a deed of release signed by the institution, saying that this person on such a date had borrowed X amount of money at such and such rate of interest on this property. The loan has now been fully paid up, all interest has been paid off, and the property has now been returned. The deed has now been returned to the person who borrowed the money. When that document is registered saying that your mortgage is now clear, the property or the land has been handed back to you, that deed of release, when registered, is notice to the whole world that your property is no longer tied up in a bank or credit union. That is important because if you want to sell your property and somebody comes along, you negotiate a price, the person says, yes, I'm interested in buying, you arrange a price, fine. The person goes to his or her lawyer to have his or her deed of conveyance prepared. The lawyer's job is to carry out a search to make sure that the property you are selling to his or her client is free from any debts called encumbrances. So the lawyer sends his or her clerk to the courthouse to look and see if you had ever borrowed money on that property, and if so, if you have repaid. And the way they know that you have repaid is when they find the registration of your deed of release. Then the lawyer's clerk will say, okay, fine. Mortgage was taken out in 2002, released in 2012, no further mortgage is registered, and therefore this property is clear. But if you had finished paying back the money and you didn't go and get a deed of release taken out, if you didn't get the bank to sign or the credit union to sign to say this property has been fully paid for, the money has been paid back, nothing is owing, and you didn't get that release registered at the courthouse, when anybody goes to search, they will still find the mortgage that you had originally taken out to borrow the money is registered at the courthouse, and there's nothing to show that you have finished paying back the money on the mortgage. So they will tell you, that deed you have is not good because it is tied up at the registry. There's nothing to show that your deed has been cleared. And once your deed is not certified to have been cleared, nobody is going to buy that money because the lawyer will say to his or her client, you see that property you arranged to buy? Don't touch it. The man is owing money to a bank on that property. Until he has paid off the property, he is in no position to sign a deed for you. So you go and you tell the seller, how are you going to sell me property and you owe money in the bank? Oh, what money? I don't pay off the bank. And a discussion ensues. I don't pay the bank, my property is free and clear. Look, I have my deed here. So the intended purchaser goes back to his lawyer and says, the man said that he finished paying off his loan. He showed me his deed. The lawyer will say, he might have finished paying off the loan, but there's nothing at the courthouse to show that the loan has been paid because no deed of release has been registered at the courthouse to clear his deed. And then when the person realizes that, person said, you know, I didn't know. I supposed to go and get all of that done. Well, probably they didn't listen because the lending officers at banks and credit unions usually say to people when they have finished paying off their mortgages, go to a lawyer and have a release done. Sometimes they probably don't listen. Or they probably feel, well, look, me ain't going to spend no more money, man. I don't pay off the bank. Why are you going to bother with spending more money? But a release is not expensive. About $300 or $400 it costs to have a release done. But if you don't ever have a release registered and you have already paid off your mortgage, your deed is still showing up at the registry as if it has a mortgage on it. And that is an encumbrance on the property. And that will humbug you doing anything legal about that property until you have a deed of release registered. So it is not enough just to pay off the money. You must get a release registered to show to anybody who searches that your loan has been paid off. If you plan to borrow again from the same institution, then you don't have to sign a release because you plan to go back in debt. But once you have cleared the loan and you don't intend to go back in debt over the same property, get your deed of release done and save all confusion. Okay? All right, well, that is all from this program of The Law and You. Do consider the significance of Emancipation Day tomorrow, 1st of August. If you're going on the beach for picnics and so on, be careful. Whatever you do, be careful. Enjoy yourself in moderation. And may the good Lord continue to bless us all.
The Law and You, a look at laws in St. Vincent and the Grenadines which affect our daily lives. The Law and You, presented by lawyer panel P.R Campbell QC and brought to you on SVG-TV as a public service.